Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Movin' Right Along, a Muppet movie podcast brought to you by toughpigs.com. This is the podcast where we watch Muppets from Space 2 minutes at a time and talk about it a lot. I am your host, Anthony Strand.
And I am your other host, Ryan Rowe.
We are joined today by a return guest, an old friend. Great to have him back. Guest, please introduce yourself.
I am Max Jessop. Do you want me to explain my whole deal, or just that my name is Max Jessop?
You can explain your deal. Go for it.
I mean, I'm a sort of a veteran of the Muppet spaces that kind of gets pulled out of retirement from time to time. Like I was an original Muppet mindset writer, and I was in the weeds of the 2011 Muppet world. But then
you were kind of like the Lights Camera Jackson of Muppet Mindset, I would say.
You're not wrong. You're absolutely not wrong. And then somewhere along the lines, I went to school and kind of decentered Muppets slightly, but they're still my heart and soul. And I keep getting invited back to talk about Muppets, and I will never not say yes. This is the greatest opportunity to get to talk about Muppets on any occasion.
Well, we're delighted to have you. And as long as we're talking about the old days, we should let listeners know that you and I met in person when you were 11 and I was 25.
Yes.
And now
and that was 2 years ago.
You are older now than I was then. So
it was what Dave Goles was doing an event at the St. Louis Public Library. And we also got to meet Dave Goles. That's a notable thing. But it was just a fun moment where I was meeting people that I knew vaguely from the forums and Muppet websites and such, and it was like the type of thing where back in those early Facebook days, you were able to you could scour and find a picture of a person, because everyone was so anonymized.
Yeah.
And so it's like, you're that person. You're Ryan Dozier. You're this.
Ryan Dozier was at that event too. That's the first and only time I ever met Ryan Dozier in person.
That was how I started getting to write for the Muppet Mindset. I was like, hey, I love the Muppet Mindset. It's like, you should write sometime. You should do a piece or something. And then I did for the next 4 years, off and on,
Right.
And so,
and then you retired at age 16 or whatever.
I mean, if anyone really ever wanted me to write another article for a Muppet website, I'm also fair game. But it's it's not something I'm I've actively pursued on my own. Just not for any reason of disinterest, just because it's just other priorities have taken over.
Got other stuff going on, yeah. It is a pleasure to have you back on the podcast to talk about minutes 63 and 64 of Muppets from Space. And in these minutes, various characters make their way to Cape Doom. So before we get to Cape Doom, though, we start with Singer and Bobo as Rentro.
We sure do.
Still in that same room, still talking about something boring. So we start with Singer saying, "Ay it." That's where we come in.
Ay
it. And Rentro says, "Car's impounded." Singer looks at him for a second, and then Bobo as Rentro says, "We can take my company car." Singer says, "Fine. Great." And Bobo says, "Great." And again, go ahead, Ryan. Go ahead.
Oh, well, okay, we're tired of this dynamic of these two. We're tired of all the Covenant stuff. I like what Bobo is doing here. We've probably talked about this before. Bobo is a large puppet. He's bulky. He seems to be made of stiff material, so he's not as flexible as a lot of the other Muppets are. But somehow what Bill Beretta does with him, he's so expressive. Maybe, I don't know. I guess he just makes it work in spite of the puppet's inflexibility. So just the way he brings Bobo to life, this is a good example of this, where he's just oh, we can take my company car. There's just so much life and energy, despite the puppet not really moving very much.
Yeah.
Well, I would say at Bobo's sort of physical limitations, I think there's just also something about where him being big, him being like, his face is inexpressive. And then, but then the movement with Bill Beretta, as you're all mentioning, but to me, it reads not only as just like a great moment of puppeteering, but it almost reads to me as like it almost transcends Muppets for a moment, and he becomes just like a Hollywood character actor. This is like you think of Bobo as like a guy who that's his whole deal. You know, that's how I think of Bobo, where it's like he stopped being a Muppet like 10 scenes ago, and now he's Richard Kind.
Well, yeah, that is kind of what they're doing here with this. Yeah, with these two as a comedy team. Yeah, Bobo is fulfilling that kind of role.
Right. Well, what I was going to say is, and I think we've talked about this already this season, but this scene is a great example of it. It really feels like they expected Jeffrey Tambor and Bill Beretta to just like improvise some jokes, and then they didn't. So it's just, we'll take my company car, fine, great. You know, like I feel like they thought magic was going to happen,
Yeah.
and then the two of them couldn't be bothered.
I'm going to say personally, as like maybe a pushback on, obviously I get where it's like not the most Muppety thing that you're wanting to see in a Muppet movie, but I think there's something great about it being like so deadpan, where it just like the silences for me personally make the stuff really really funny to me. Not in the sense where it's like it's not the funniest thing ever, and it's not even it's not even close to the funniest thing, and it's not the closest to the funniest thing in this movie or in any Muppet movie. But I look at this and go like I still want to see this. There's something awkward that I've grown accustomed over the years, you know, in in a world of Joe Pera's and you know, a world where silence being a comedy weapon more than it ever has been. I think I can look at Bobo and Jeffrey Tambor having no banter as banter.
Huh.
That's how I feel about
That's
it.
Sure.
An interesting angle. They're both definitely doing what is being asked of them. Jeffrey Tambor is being kind of a sad sack like he was on the Larry Sanders Show, and Bobo is being a lovable dumb guy like he was on Muppets Tonight. So it's, yeah, I don't think there's any blame, you know, I don't think there's any blame to be assigned to Bill Beretta or Jeffrey Tambor here for whatever we're getting tired of with these characters' interactions.
Yeah. Yeah. So then what is Bobo's company car? We cut to a cement truck driving down the highway, and fellas, here's my thing about this. Rentro's company car being a cement truck, like that's a pretty good gag. But one, it's so dark, and the truck is so small in the frame that you can barely see it.
I was just gonna say, I think this is really strange on a lot of levels, but it goes back to this kind of same points as the banter, where it's like this doesn't work except on paper, but there's something about it that strikes me as charming, especially to the fact where it's like, well, I watched the whole clip that you sent me. And I'll say this just in broad strokes. I guess maybe I'm getting ahead of ourselves, but it feels like the pace is just so quick, and it goes through like 5 different modes in 2 minutes, which is probably for the movie's sake a bad thing. But for this clip's sake, it's just like, oh, we're getting the clip that I picked, unbeknownst to it being what it is like, oh, this is the greatest hits of Muppets from Space. It's like the right amount of every kind of vibe that this movie picks up on. It's like, oh, if this movie was 5 minutes, maybe this would be like a masterpiece.
If the movie were 5 minutes long?
If the movie were 5 minutes long, it would be a masterpiece.
Oh, yeah. Yes, agreed.
If it were 60 minutes long, it'd be pretty good.
Yeah.
The movie that we have is like, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
But you get these 2 minutes here. And I look at the 2 minutes and I try and think with the context of the rest of the movie. But you have this moment with the cement truck. And the thing about it is, like, economically, like, I know they're trying to just fit in another gag, but like, it is so unnecessary, just this whole aside here. You should be able to just cut back to the Muppets and the other guy's going to Cape Doom. Like, you can just say, we're going to go. You could even do the company car bit. Like, there's nothing wrong with keeping that in. Maybe there's a world where it's pull up the garage door and you see like a dumb looking car or something like that. You don't have to have the insert of them on the road. But the fact that they did it and it doesn't mean anything is kind of absurd to me. And particularly the fact that, like, and I was looking really close at this, I think they did a Muppet arm. Like, I think they filmed him. And I had to think, did they film more of this? Did they do like a whole bit close up with them in the cement truck and they just cut it out because, like I mentioned, it was completely unnecessary, but they filmed enough to where it's like, we don't want to let this all go to waste? That's how I felt about it, because I was like, is that like, it's a big, it looked like it was a big Bobo arm. It looked like it wasn't like Bobo in the car, but it was like,
you're saying like Bobo's arm hanging out
like,
the side of
hanging
the
out
car?
the window.
Yeah.
Huh.
And I was like, why would they go to that trouble? Why would they go to that trouble?
Well, they knew that it would be seen on a big screen in a theater, so it would be more visible or more obvious in the theater.
I look at it, but I look at a bit like that, and I think it shouldn't matter. I think
well,
none of this matters.
I was just thinking why did they choose to shoot it this way? Because I do think it's a decent gag, but why not? You could cut to just a long line of cars and then just gradually, move up and up and up and up, and then then reveal that the reason there's this long line of cars all waiting and honking and not moving is that they're all waiting behind this slow moving cement truck.
Cement truck.
Yeah.
Sure.
Also, he says Bobo says he's driving 30. That's not a bad speed. That's a decent speed to be driving. Like, if he had said, I'm doing 12, that would have been funnier.
No, huh? You're right. I mean, yeah, you're right. 30's not fast by any means.
Yeah, that's how fast you
not
drive
on the
through a
highway
neighborhood.
fast.
Well, no, it's not for the highway, but
you drive 30 through a neighborhood, Ryan. 20 is plenty.
There are residential neighborhoods where the speed limit is 30. Yes, absolutely.
I know. There's maybe this is a local thing. I have no idea. There are a lot of signs in neighborhoods around here that say 20 is plenty, and you have to pronounce it 20 for the rhyme to work.
20 is plenty.
Yeah, if you say 20 is plenty, that doesn't mean anything.
20 is yeah, no. Well, 30 is
dirty. 30 is dirty,
30
Ryan.
Is dirty. Yeah.
Anyways, the other thing is, maybe you can see Bobo's arm. I was just checking. I don't see it, but like, we saw Fozzie drive a car for a long time, 20 years ago.
And in this movie.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's what I'm no. So that's why I find this really absurd, and it's why I think there's stuff on the cutting room floor. It's why I think they were like, oh, this is they planned maybe a larger Bobo bit, and then they realized
it's a waste of time.
It's a waste of time, but they didn't want to waste the footage, so it's like, let's just do the over the head shot and just give context for the bit and for them transporting. And so it's like,
yeah, I think it would be funnier if we saw a decent shot of Bobo driving a truck.
I would like to see that. Yes.
Maybe it feels like they just didn't have the time or money to do it.
Probably. Yeah, this might have been rushed.
Look, I'm just going to say it here before, anyone else stakes the claim, so that I can coin it, so I can be the start of a movement here. # release the Bobo cut.
Great.
I think we need to see what the extra Bobo footage is and just insist that they did that. And if they didn't film that, I say they somehow make new Muppets from Space Bobo footage. We forced them into it.
Great. But so anyways, after this 18 seconds of watching the cement truck on the highway,
yep,
we are now at Cape Doom, and generic funk music is playing on the soundtrack, and we have what seems to be hundreds of people have gathered. It's definitely more people than we saw outside 44 Bronson Lane. I'll tell you that for free.
Yes, more people have learned about this somehow.
They saw it on Miss Piggy program. I was going to say
Up Late with UFO Mania?
UFO
Mania.
I almost said UFO Fever. They got the UFO fever.
They got the UFO fever. So anyways, there's a lot of people here at the beach, and they're cheering Gonzo, Gonzo as the Electric Mayhem bus drives up, and they're waving signs, they're waving foam light sticks around.
Yeah, so
It's
this
a real party.
I don't know if this sequence, this shot, if this is deliberate, but it always reminds me of a scene in Contact when
Mm,
Jodie Foster is driving back to her lab with the satellite dishes after the whole world has learned that they've intercepted a signal from outer space, and they just have to drive through this huge crowd of people like selling stuff and people in alien costumes, and there's an Elvis impersonator, and so this seems like kind of a scaled down version of that, possibly intentional.
sure.
I also want to make a note as just for this sort of transitionary moment of them getting to Cape Doom, such as it were. The generic funk music, I like had to do a double take, and I searched it a bunch. I thought that was Right Place, Wrong Time, Dr. John. I was like,
Hmm.
that's the same organ riff that they do, because I've been listening to that song a lot lately, ironically enough. And so it's like, is that, yeah, and it wasn't.
No, the composer for this movie, Jamshid Sharifi, does a really good job of because he's composing in a lot of different genres and styles and vibes. And yeah, this for a movie that has all these funk sounds on the soundtrack, this sounds like it could be a real funk song, but it's just kind of just continuing that general sound, but it's not an actual song, not a pre-existing song.
That I didn't know. That is actually incredible.
Yeah.
But you're right about that Dr. John song. I can definitely hear it.
Yeah.
And anyways, so inside the bus, Kermit is not impressed. He says, "What's with all these crazy people?" And Piggy says, "Can I help it if Moi has such devoted fans?"
Yeah, she thinks they're
Well,
there for her.
she does, or she's trying to convince herself of that at least. And Kermit shakes his head and says, because guess what? Kermit knows it's not funny. Everyone involved in the making of this movie knows it's not funny. Like it's just like some such lazy piggy stuff. Like,
That is a lazy line. But I also like it made me confused why Kermit was so unfazed by it in a sense, where because it's just like it felt like a moment where they wrote it in. It feels like maybe it's from like another draft of this, where it's like maybe this is in a world where the Muppets are still the Muppets and they're not entirely boarding house residents. That like Kermit knows it has seen a crowd because he's Kermit the Frog. That's what
sure.
that response felt like, where it's like, yeah, it's people. We deal with the Muppet Theater every day. There's people, you know.
Yeah.
Sure.
But like in this context, it doesn't really work because you would kind of be in awe of like hundreds of people coming out for Gonzo, the alien. I don't know. It felt off in that regard to me.
Yeah, it's not really clear in this movie whether the Muppets are famous or not. But
That's
I
yeah.
think Kermit was just expecting that it would just be, their friends escorting their other friend Gonzo to this place to see if his alien family was going to show up or not. So he's just kind of annoyed that all these crazy people are there.
Yeah. And speaking of people who are there, for a huge, huge stretch of this movie, our Muppet cast has been limited. It's been the five friends who were on the bus. It's been Gonzo and Phil Van Nooter.
Yeah,
It's been Rizzo and his rat pals. And that's kind of it. And now we get to the beach, and finally there are other Muppets in this movie again. The
there are
promise
more.
of the opening scene. And as they make their way through the crowd, we see Marvin Suggs, we see Chip, we see Crazy Harry, among others.
We see some birds, some Muppet birds who are very excited to be there.
The Muppet birds look like they're Sesame Street birds. I want to note they look
Oh.
really like Sesame Street birds. Like you can see it in the eyes.
Mhm.
There's something about it where it's like, okay, I see what you are. I see what you're doing. You just had those on hand.
I see your
I see.
Sesame Street eyes.
I wonder if they had those sesame birds from Elmo and Grouchland.
It's
They had them
That's
down
very
there.
probably
possible.
fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm looking to see who else we see. maybe not too many others. I was just so excited. Yeah,
Sweetums is there.
Yeah, Sweetums is there.
Hmm.
We see a little whatnot old man.
There's a couple of whatnots. I think there's a whatnot little boy in there somewhere too.
Yeah. But what is most exciting is that then we see Scooter. And
Yeah,
Scooter says, "Get your Gonzo t-shirts right here, $10."
he speaks.
And
He's got a
right,
line.
right, and that doesn't feel like that big of a deal now, but you say he speaks, and this is the first time he's spoken since Richard Hunt died. This is the first time we've seen him since Richard Hunt died.
Hmm.
He's not in Christmas Carol. He's not in Treasure Island. He's not in Muppets Tonight, as far as I remember.
Yeah.
If I'm wrong about that, someone let me
He
know.
might have had a blink and you miss it, but that's
Yeah,
probably the
right,
Hmm.
extent.
right. But I really don't think he did. Certainly, there's not like
Yeah.
Rolf had like memorable non-speaking cameos in those movies
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
whatever.
Right.
And Scooter really didn't. And so now he's back. His the last time Richard played him was Muppet Celebrate Jim Henson, you know,
Hmm.
which is that's something too.
Yeah.
But here he's voiced by Richard's brother Adam Hunt, and he
Yeah.
basically sounds like Scooter. Like
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't sound exactly like Richard, but he sounds. Yeah. I mean, it's Scooter.
Get your Gonzo t-shirts right here, $10.
I believe it.
I think he actually kind of sounds like. I don't know. I don't want to get too deep in the weeds of scrutinizing Muppet character voices, but to me, he kind of sounds like partway or like a blend of Richard Hunt Scooter and David Rudman Scooter,
Ah.
like the
yeah, I
midway
guess.
point between the two.
Hmm. We will have plenty of occasions to talk about this in the next several bonus episodes more than anything, but it's going to be a long road to David Rudman taking over
That's true.
as Scooter. It's gonna be Matt Vogel in Muppet Race Mania.
Yeah.
It's gonna be Brian Henson and It's a Very Merry Muppet Christmas Movie, and then it's gonna be Ricky Boyd in Oz before
Ricky
David Rudman.
Boyd.
Ricky Boyd before David Rudman finally takes it over in Letters to Santa.
Yeah.
You're having me do like the Stephen McKinley Henderson role in Dune, where I'm seeing all of the Muppet facts that I remember learning on like the Muppet Wiki from 15 years ago. It's like it's all coming back right now. Where it's like you just invoking Ricky Boyd is like I remember scouring for all this info that has it served me. That's the question, but it's like this is the throwback of all throwbacks right now.
Well, here's the thing. It was satisfying to you then. It fulfilled you found the information you were looking for and you were happy to find it back then.
And I will never forget it, as it seems. I will
Right.
never
Right.
forget it.
It was
They're
somewhere in your
indelible
brain.
facts.
Yes, it was there.
Awesome. The Dune comparison is knocking me out. But anyways, so yeah, we see Scooter, and then we see a Volkswagen van pull up, and Bunsen and Beaker, who we last saw at the gas station, slide out of the Volkswagen van. Bunsen's giggling. Seems like they had a good time in there.
Mhm. I think they did.
And Bunsen turns to a long-haired hippie and says, "Goodbye, Rainbow, and stay groovy." Well, Ryan, who plays Rainbow?
Rainbow is played by Steve Whitmire.
Steve Whitmire from this movie.
Yeah, Steve Whitmire, the guy who plays. I was trying to think of like a really obscure Muppet in this movie, but all I can think of is Kermit and Rizzo. There's got to be some obscure character.
Your joke, Anthony, right there is like I'm imagining someone in a movie, any movie, going like, "Hey, you're that guy from this movie."
From this, that seems like a joke that has been in a movie. It might not be, but it.
If it hasn't,
Yeah.
it needs to be.
Huh. Yeah.
Sure.
Hey, you're Steve Whitmire from Kermit the Frog in this movie.
From
You're
this movie.
standing right over there as Kermit the Frog.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's him. So I'm looking on now. I'm curious because he must play someone besides Kermit and Rizzo in this. Well, yeah, because he's not even Statler yet, right? Jerry is Statler in this.
Yeah.
Let's see. So now I'm looking.
I mean,
And
he
on his Muppet
obviously
Wiki
played
page,
characters that we don't know about, like he was probably
right, of course.
Like a sheep
But
yeah,
in the
some
boarding house or
animal.
something.
Yeah,
oh,
exactly.
he's one of the cosmic fish, of course.
Ah, okay,
Yes!
okay,
The
okay. There you
cosmic
go.
fish!
So pretend that when you said Steve Whitmire from this movie, I said, "Oh yeah, Steve Whitmire. He played one of the cosmic fish in this movie."
Good one, Ryan.
Ah,
That's so
thanks. I
funny.
just
Yeah!
came up with that so
You nailed
quickly
it.
and effortlessly.
You nailed it. Anyways, but we don't dwell on Rainbow. It's nice to see Steve. You know that we're gonna see some cameos later, but it's younger performers, so it's nice to see Steve here too.
The
Yes.
thing that I love about Steve here in particular is, and I think they do it with Peter as well. I literally can't remember. But the thing I love the way that they costumed him as a hippie. He gets to have the headband that it kind of recalls to kind of the headbands that they'll wear
Mm.
in the
Oh
live
yeah.
stuff, where it's
You're
like all the Jim Henson's headbands and stuff like that. And he had those headbands that would be connected to the mics, and I'm like, well, I guess he just kept the headband on, you know? I
you're
think
right.
Yeah,
resourceful
yeah,
production costuming.
Yeah.
yeah. That's true.
Yeah, no, Rainbow
Hmm.
doesn't get any lines. He's just eating the chips, so that's funny.
We just see him like serenely eat potato chips.
Yeah.
But we don't dwell on Rainbow for too long because then we watch a ton of people and Sweetums make their way towards a lighthouse. You can see Sweetums very clearly among the
I
crowd.
think, yeah, I love that Sweetums is just lumbering along with that crowd of people in that shot. I do love that.
Well, it's such a good shot where it's
Mhm.
basically like the whole shot is the crowd and the lighthouse and the back. It's like it's almost like a painting, and then Sweetums is just coming into the painting. He's
Yeah.
front and center, and he's walking through these rocks. It's very beautiful. Like
Yeah.
it recalls to, I think, the thing that made Sweetums awesome in just in the grand scheme of the Muppets. Like, obviously, had great bits on the Muppet Show, but I think the thing that has made Sweetums stand the test of time versus a lot of these other walk around, big costumed Muppets was simply that he was, in his own way, a more interactive Muppet amongst people and, a large setting. Well, that's why the Muppet movie gag is so cool, because he's like, he's going into the Bogan County, locker room, the tent,
Hmm.
and he's lumbering through the road and stuff like that. And they never really exploit that to that degree again in any other Muppet movie. But I always think of him first, maybe with that gag in mind. And so here
Sure.
it's like, well, he's the Muppet who's kind of overtaking the landscape. He's bigger than everyone. And it means that even if you can't like point out the Muppets who are kind of in the frame, there's going to be a Muppet that's like the front and center sort of image.
Yeah, he really draws your eye. He
Yeah.
really makes you feel like it's an equal number of humans and Muppets because you see Sweetums.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
another thing about this shot, one of the few pieces of actual information from the DVD commentary for this movie, Tim Hill does confirm. Well, we probably would have suspected is that the lighthouse is not actually there in the shot. It's an effect that was added in post production. But and then also somewhere around here is where they transition from the physical location of the beach in North Carolina to the soundstage where they filmed most of this, the rest of this sequence basically after this.
All the stuff we're gonna see later. Yeah.
The lighthouse is extremely unconvincing. Like, I totally know that that's CG, but
Yeah.
the transition between the soundstage and the real beach, that feels seamless to me
Hmm.
personally. Like, it's
Yeah.
like, oh, I can kind of tell a difference, but not so drastically that it takes me out of it, which is one of the few good problems that this movie has up
Yeah,
its
it looks
sleeve.
good.
Yeah. So then with seeing the lighthouse, we dissolve to a while later, presumably quite a while later, and the mood has calmed down a whole lot. Kermit says, "Got cold," and Gonzo says, "Yeah, sure did." More of that classic Muppet dialogue we love. And
No, I'm again gonna vouch for this. Like,
please, please.
I'm not gonna say that that's good dialogue, but it feels And again, this goes back to my whole premise of this is the greatest hits of this movie, where it's like we're just hitting different tonal points, which again, it's like we probably shouldn't be speed running this in a 2-minute span of time, but it's like we get that amazing like Gonzo Kermit relating moment, a sensitive, softer moment that you see at the beginning of this movie when, you know, he's about to get his message in the cereal. And we see this as sort of like, it's trying, it doesn't get there, but it's really trying to strike the, I'm going to go back there tone.
Oh yeah.
It's trying, it's trying to have its cake and eat it too. And that doesn't work. But I think in its own moment, if you like took that clip isolated, which people have, you know, they're like, has anyone brought up how many great Muppets from Space edits online there are lately?
No, like, I don't think so.
No.
On TikTok, I don't know what it is, but like Gen Z are doing great things with edits right now. The way that they make like a montage set to a popular song or something like that. And I don't know what it is about Muppets from Space, but people are grabbed by Gonzo as sort of like an icon in queer spaces, obviously, and in just general otherness. And they recontextualize with these songs into these like beautiful like masterpieces, where one in particular, I think my favorite one was like the Anthems of a 17-Year-Old Girl Broken Social Scene. And it's like I Saw the TV Glow vibes, but with Muppets from Space, with just Muppets from Space clips. And I'm like, how is this this is the power of cinema. Like if the whole movie had that tone, we'd be cooking. But the reason Muppets from Space does not work is because it does not harness the sensitive moments that I think the movie is fundamentally trying to work from. I'm going to go back there someday is the baseline of this movie. And then they say, well, what if we had that really beautiful, touching moment from the Muppet movie and we just did a bunch of 90s comedy in it, a 90s, you know, bro comedy. And it doesn't cohere, but it is in these moments, in these like purely 15-second moments that I like, there's something. And the people of TikTok have shown this to me. So shout out to the people on TikTok. Maybe I can look up who have done these great edits, but I know it's something that people remark upon. I remember seeing one with Blinding Lights by The Weeknd before it became a new Muppet classic.
Yeah, now that's a Rizzo song.
Yeah,
forever.
I was gonna say, yeah, forever.
But it's now forever. It's a forever Rizzo song. But I think people took it as it's an outer space sort of vibe, and that's why they used it in that setting. And it's like, I might actually be getting that wrong, but I remember it being like a Weekend song off after hours, and it was like, whoa, the Muppets. Wow, Muppets from Space. We can do stuff with Muppets from Space. It's not off limits.
We can rebuild it.
We can rebuild it.
We have the technology.
Yeah.
But back in the original cut, the Tim Hill edit of Muppets from Space, No,
I get what you're saying. I do get what you're saying.
Yeah, no, that was great. Thank you for all that. Yeah, it's great. But Miss Piggy is reporting on the TV, as we saw. She called the cameraman earlier and all that. She says, midnight. The lone alien stands before a naked sky. The mood is tense. My hair looks great. And we all remember the second half of that line from the trailer.
Yes.
Because it's Peter Linds's voice as Miss Piggy in the trailer.
The mood is tense. My hair looks great.
We've talked about the like multiple undubbed performances in the trailer by other performers.
Yeah.
And it sounds like Tutter is the thing. When we hear Miss Piggy say that in the trailer, it sounds just like Tutter.
Tutter's hair looks great.
My hair looks great, Bear. You know? Love him. I love him. He's my special boy.
Perfect.
My comment on this moment. This moment is unremarkable to me, other than the fact that, again, this goes back to the Muppet Wiki of old flashbacks. This has the photo that they use of Chip. This is the Chip photo that was like the header of his Muppet Wiki, and it was like the clearest visual that we ever had on him for years until 2015. and it was the one where you could make the GIF and you could see his eye, his pupils blinking. And I when I watched this on the clip, I was like, I did the Leo DiCaprio point. It's like that's the Chip. That's the Chip image. And I've never been. I don't think I've ever been so excited to see Chip. I'm not anti-Chip or anything, but it's like Chip.
Yeah,
Chip.
There he is.
And that's the closest appearance we see of him, not only in general, but definitely in this movie. Like he's in the crowd, but they have Piggy off center, and so he's the center of the frame, which I think is hilarious.
Yeah, he's around. He's kind of distracting.
He's right there.
Yeah.
Can't take your eyes off of it.
But you can blink your pupils at it.
It's a really bizarre effect that went, like, that's the other thing. It's like, you can't, oh my goodness. Like, I feel like that's like the perfect thing where, that's the other thing I've seen on TikTok. People love to crap. On TikTok, they love to crap on Chip. And look, I'm okay with you finding him creepy. That I do understand that point of view, that where people are coming from with that. I don't, but these people are just like clowning on Chip because they're doing all these 2015 rewatches, and to me, I think about it because he has that such visceral reaction to people who are like casual or Muppet fans watching the 2015 show. I feel like Chip is the perfect Muppet that if you like brought a friend over who has no Muppet experience whatsoever and you just showed him Chip and you just watch these 2 minutes of Muppets from Space. You showed him these 2 minutes from Muppets from Space and they'd be like, oh, that's something. And then you said, let's watch it again. And I want you to focus on Chip. I want you to focus on that guy and I'll point him out to you. And then they notice the pupil effect. And I feel like then, whoa, they'll be like, I think there's an immediate fight or flight that can happen with that effect. And sure. I want to see that of someone, whether they take to that and go like, that's a really cool effect. Because I feel like it's a 50-50 shot. That's a really cool effect. Or I'm scarred for life. Chip is the devil.
Sometimes I worry that I get too weird or too nerdy around my friends or family who are not as weird or nerdy as I am, but I have never invited somebody to watch Muppets from Space twice in a row and focus on Chip exclusively. So
just a clip. Just a clip. Not the whole
just
movie
those
twice.
Parts. Okay.
Like but I'll show them.
Now are you going to? Is the thing.
No.
Okay, so we mentioned my birthday was 2 days ago. And I'm probably going to have like a belated family get together. And I think they've probably seen Muppets from Space before, just, knowing that they're family of me or whatever. But I don't think they don't know what a chip is. They know it's the thing you eat. They know it as the thing that you eat.
They know it's the thing Rainbow eats.
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
Oh, yeah.
Kermit from Muppets from Space.
Right.
They noticed that. And so if I pointed that out to them, I think I could just show them these 2 minutes and I would just get I don't know what the reaction is. I just want to see reactions. I want to know what the people, the first gut reaction to Chip, because I think there's
show them these 2 minutes and see how they react.
We need to do some scientific studies on this, on the psychological effects of Chip.
We do.
Yeah.
We do. But
that's all I have to say.
No, that's great. We're like almost to the end of this thing. So we got all kinds of time. You can say as much as you want about Chip.
Well, then since you said that, I will just do a brief plug here and say the listeners can check out the episode of 70 Years, 70 Muppets about Chip, hosted by me with my guest, J.D. Hansel, who gave a very thoughtful exploration of kind of basically how should we feel about Chip was kind of what I invited JD on to talk about. So you can find that in the 70 Years, 70 Muppets podcast.
It's a really good one.
I only bring forth the common the layman Chip thought, and I
Sure.
I will report back.
Yes, please do.
Chip information.
Please do. Yeah. But so just as Miss Piggy finishes her line, we hear a different woman's voice yell, "What?" And it's Andy McDowell. It's Shelley Snipes. And she comes strolling out and says, "I don't believe this." And Miss Piggy's like, "Shelley." And she's like, "You backstabbing And that's the end.
I know we don't get the full view of it, but I could be wrong. Is this the real first time we see Andy McDowell? Because we see her in the promo.
No, we see her at the station with Piggy. Like,
okay,
Piggy takes over for her on the show. Isn't she at the station? Maybe not.
Was she? I don't think she was actually there. We saw her on the commercial, but I don't think she was actually there.
Oh, you're right. And then she's not there. So
that's why they were scrambling to find a replacement.
Yeah,
when she volunteered.
You're right.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like I don't know. There's part of me, because I rewatched some other clips earlier, and you see that promo of her on the TV, and I have to wonder two things. One, it's like they probably only shot a day with Andy McDowell, and that doesn't surprise me.
Oh yeah.
But they have two costumes for her, so they had her in two different looks. I don't know. I think logistically, it's like, okay, so they spent a day on Andy McDowell. Like the whole day was Andy McDowell, and I think that's interesting.
I think probably, yeah.
And then, but the other thing was, I guess because the promo is somewhat blink and you miss it, like you could almost look at the promo and maybe not know that that's Andy McDowell necessarily or whatever, because it kind of is just like you see it and then you see the reverse shots of the Muppets watching it. So it's kind of like Andy McDowell's there and you kind of don't think of anything of it. And so this is like Andy McDowell. And I think what I'm trying to get at is I wonder if people are getting confused about who Shelley Snipes is as opposed to Andy McDowell. I feel like it's like weird to come in this late in the movie.
I don't know.
It's just a thought I had.
Sure. And actually that brings me to the moment. Any other thoughts about these 2 minutes, Max? I'll start with you before we go.
I suggested a lot of different moments from Muppets from Space that I think I do prefer more. But at the end of the day, I do think that this sits well for me, these 2 minutes, because I'll say it for the millionth time. I feel like all of the movie and every good bit of the movie is contained in these 2 minutes. That this is the coda for the whole movie. It's like, no, we don't get Cosmic Fish. No, we don't get Uber Gonzo. But there is a level of like, okay, so this is really what the meat and bones of the movie is, and it's not bad in a smaller dose. Like seeing long stretches of them trying to be, I'm going to go back there someday. That's hard because it feels like you're so close yet so far. Seeing long stretches of Covenant is like I will defend Covenant, but it's at the same point in time, it's like I get it. It's like that can run a little dry after so long, and the funk stuff and the hippie stuff and the Electric Mayhem. Electric Mayhem baiting. Has anyone used that term yet?
Electric Mayhem, I don't think so.
Because they're there at the beginning, but like they use the bus and it's like, this is like Stolen Valor kind of thing. Where it's like,
yeah, we did talk about that.
Yeah.
I bet you did. But another new coined word, Electric Mayhem baiting. That is the new term. Tweet hashtag release the Bobo cut and mayhem baiting.
Great.
But all this being said, that like in this sort of quick succession of like a fast pace best, you even get a cameo in here. You get a classic style Muppet cameo of an actor just popping in. You get everything in 2 minutes, and it's just you've speed run what could be in maybe different scenarios a great Muppet movie, right? But you know, as I mentioned, in a 90-minute contained piece, it's fine. It's fine. So I think these are great 2 minutes.
Great. Wonderful. And Ryan, anything else before we go?
Boy, do I have anything else. Okay. Well, in these 2 minutes, in the background, there's somebody selling moon rocks for $5. I looked on eBay. The lowest price I could find for something called moon rock is for a tiny piece of a lunar meteorite, those are currently selling for $35. So probably not a bad deal for a thing that was formerly on the moon. It's like, I guess, a meteorite hit the moon and a fragment of it fell to Earth. And you can buy a little teeny tiny piece of it for $35 on eBay, and that's a moon rock. So that's pretty cool.
It's a perfect piece of Muppets from Space merchandise that if you want the complete Muppets from Space collection, if you want all the merch you could possibly get out of Muppets from Space, you have to get a moon rock.
You got to get it.
Yeah, they should have sold them and branded them as Muppets from Space moon rocks when this came out. So I have quite a bit of screenplay draft stuff this week. Feel free to interject so I'm not just like monologuing here. In the 22797 draft of the screenplay, everyone is at the landing site. Bunsen is staring at his wristwatch as they wait for midnight to arrive. He looks at his watch and says, "And it's beep midnight." And it's funny because you would think that he might have Beaker make the beep for when midnight arrives. So that seems like a strange missed opportunity. And then Fozzie says, "Time for that old spacecraft, boy," which sounds like it might be a reference to something, but I don't know what.
Fozzie says this?
Yeah, time for that old spacecraft, boy.
It sounds so much like something Bugs Bunny would say.
Yeah, you know? Something from that era, right?
Like, why is that the funniest thing to me?
Specifically in Baseball Bugs, right? When he's like, "Right down the old line, boy, right down the old line." You know?
Yeah.
I just can't imagine Fozzie ever calling someone boy. Like, I just can't.
That's why it's so awkward.
Well, and I guess if Fozzie does it, it sounds like Bing Crosby, right? It's more like, time for that old
spacecraft boy. Yeah.
Right? Like, of all the different ebbs and flows these characters have gone through over the years, especially this 90s era of making Fozzie a dumb guy and all this stuff. I think there should have easily been an era where he's Bing Crosby. Why not?
Oh, yeah. I mean, they might as well. They might as well have done that. But yeah, so that line is retained over a couple of different drafts. So it hung in there.
Locking in on.
Yeah, and then time continues to elapse as Bunsen keeps announcing how much time has passed. And then Fozzie says, "Do they know about daylight savings time?" That's a decent joke. They could have kept that, I think.
Do they?
That's not bad.
We don't know.
That's a logistical question that I want answered.
Yeah.
# release the Bobo and daylight savings cut.
Yes. Then when it's 12:45, Statler asks Waldorf, "When was the last time you were up this late?" But Waldorf is just snoring, and Statler says, "Yeah, me too," and falls asleep. That's pretty funny. It also is reminiscent of Kermit and Fozzie falling asleep in the car parked outside the church in the Muppet movie. So that would have been kind of a semi-callback. In the 5/26/1998 draft of the screenplay, Miss Piggy's co-host from UFO Mania, who is present in that draft, Rex Stella, is already at the beach broadcasting when the Muppets arrive. Anthony's head casting for that character, I believe, was Fred Willard. That was your idea.
I think that would have been great.
So you can picture Fred Willard here. So yeah, he's already there. He's already broadcasting, much to Piggy's frustration. But then she just goes out and joins him. So there's no conflict, no fight, no drama. It just happens. And then here's a late-breaking development. The November 25th, 1998 draft of the screenplay was just beamed into Moving Right Along headquarters by some friendly aliens. This is one that we just got access to. So,
aliens.
Yes. So I can tell you in this section of the movie, first of all, that the Gonzo fans are referred to in the stage directions as the Loonies. So maybe as we go forward through the rest of the movie, we want to described them or referred to them as the Loonies. Also in that draft, when the Muppets arrive on the beach and see the crowd of loonies gathered, Rizzo says, "What in the name of Ed Wood is going on?"
I like that. I like that a
It's
lot.
it's something, yeah.
Cute.
Then as the Muppets
It
make
is
their
cute. I
way,
agree.
yeah, as the Muppets make their way through the mob, Fozzie says, "How come I can never get a crowd like this?" And then it cuts to Statler who shouts, "Because
It's
you
not as
stink."
good as the other line. It's not as good as the other line.
Not as good as that old
Which one?
time for that old
Time for
spacecraft
that old
boy.
spacecraft boy.
Yeah, not as good as that.
Yeah. No, but he says, "How come I never get a crowd like this?" And Statler shouts, "Because you stink." So, very, very typical Statler and or Waldorf. Pepe says, "This is some wacky clam bake, okay?" And Rizzo says, "Yeah, if anyone offers you a glass of punch, don't take it." I don't really get that one.
Like
Like it would be
Kool-Aid.
drugged?
Yeah, like the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, I guess
maybe,
so.
maybe it's the
Jim
Kool-Aid.
Jones.
All the hippies, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, that was a good thing to cut. Then they pass three old lady Muppets who are selling quilts. So just this whole crowd on the beach is much more, there's a lot more detail in this draft. Three old lady Muppets selling quilts. They hold up a quilt to Gonzo and say, "Bless our quilt, O space traveler, so that we may hawk it for a lot of cash and retire to Florida."
Great.
You're both just
Sure.
looking at me blankly on that one?
Yeah,
Okay.
I have no reaction. Not
Yeah.
fun. It's not funny.
My immediate thought is this a Jerry and the Actrix cameo?
Well, I think it probably would have been when it says old lady Muppet, so it would have been nice to see them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what a throwback that would
I
be.
always like to see Jerry and the Atrix, yeah.
Jerry and the Actrix in the same room as Chip. This is groundbreaking.
Yeah. Has it ever happened? Maybe more like on the 2015 series? I don't know.
Yeah, because Chip wasn't at Kermit and
Right.
Piggy's wedding. He doesn't exist yet.
No, he wasn't around. Yeah.
Oh.
So,
Jerry and the Atrix are at Kermit and Piggy's wedding.
right. Yeah. So I don't know.
Wait, but we've already established that one of the Atrix plays Carter.
Oh,
In
yeah,
this movie.
Yes.
you're right. They redesigned
Yes.
the puppet or refitted the puppet to be Carson.
Yeah.
Carter. Yeah. Wait,
Carter.
Carter? Yeah.
It's Carter, but Carson is the butler
Yes.
on Downton Abbey,
I know,
played by Jim Carter. That's why I can't remember.
Right.
This is all
The actor's name is Jim Carter. Okay,
the lines are getting crossed.
And
And not to be confused
Carter
with Jimmy
was the
Carter.
president.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jimmy
I was
Carter
about to
was
say.
the president, and he gets name dropped in 2011 movie.
Yeah. And he was the president when the Muppet Show was on the air.
That's why he gets name dropped in the 2011
Right.
movie.
Yeah. Okay, so back in this draft, the Swedish chef has a food cart where he's fighting some live lobster. He says, I love when we find out that the Swedish chef dialogue is written out. He says, "Nustra hurne krumba hurky durky." Very good.
Okay.
Put that in the Louvre, that line.
Yes. Then New Zealand is at an alien photo op booth getting his picture taken
that's
with
good.
an alien, which I
I
guess
like that.
presumably this would have been a person wearing an alien costume. Sam the Eagle is there yelling for everyone to conduct themselves with more decorum, and then a bikini top flies through the frame and lands on his head. I would have liked to see that.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, we kind of see. I feel like what we see in a minute is a version of that Sam's little moment
that's true.
that's coming
That's
up soon. But then when Bunsen and Beaker arrive in the hippie van, in addition to Rainbow, they also say goodbye to Ashtar. So maybe there could have been another cameo here, Ashtar, in addition to Rainbow.
Do you think that Rainbow and presumably Ashtar were maybe not planned as Muppet cameos and Muppet performer cameos, and maybe they were like celebrity cameos? Like maybe this is the moment where French Stewart comes in from Third Rock, or maybe something like that. Just kind of a wink and a nod to like types of people that might be circling this genre, this type of thing. Maybe people who are beach characters. I don't know.
Yeah, could be. Would they have put Jay and Silent Bob in a Muppet movie in 1999?
If they were on
cannot
Degrassi, I
imagine
don't see
that
why
they
not.
would have.
Yeah, probably. Well, yeah, and they
Well,
wouldn't have
that's
done.
true.
They wouldn't have called them Rainbow and Ashtar. They wouldn't have been hippies like that. So yeah.
Yeah, it would have
Yeah.
been. It would have been like I don't know, Matthew McConaughey maybe. If they wanted a
Yeah,
celebrity,
right, sure.
Yeah.
I could see that.
And I don't know who the lady would be. I'm assuming I don't know why I'm reading Ashtar as female. Maybe
Oh,
Ashtar's
yeah,
a guy.
actually, I'm not familiar with that name, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Although
Maybe
rainbow
it's
is gender neutral anyway.
that's true. Maybe it's Ishtar.
Yeah, maybe it's Dustin
Maybe it's
Hoffman.
Dustin Hoffman and Warren Beatty.
Warren Beatty.
Good, yes. And Elaine May is driving the van.
What if she was? What if Elaine May was in this movie?
That
What
would
if
be
Charles
great.
Grodin was in? What if
I
Charles
would love that.
Grodin is the Jeffrey Tambor role?
That'd be better.
That would
That'd be
be
better.
funny. Yes, that would be good.
Just saying. Just saying.
And then the stage directions specify that a cloud of smoke emanates from the van.
It's the smoke monster from Lost. Go on.
Oh, that's got to be it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's him.
Big Mean Carl preemptively.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. It's Titus Welliver.
And then Bunsen says, "Well, Beaky, it certainly was refreshing to meet a group of young botanists so intent on finding the perfect specimens to study."
Honestly, I like that.
Yeah, I don't mind that.
And then the smoke monster turns into Titus Welliver and says, "We're not botanists, we're Boschanists."
Wow, you did
That's
it.
what happened.
You did it.
Close the loop
I
there.
gotta leave. I gotta be done with
Congratulations.
this podcast.
I know, there's nowhere you can go from there. But there's more.
I can't wait.
Finally, in this draft, in this scene,
Okay.
the rest of the Electric Mayhem reunites with Animal. Floyd says,
Great.
yeah, Floyd says, "Hey, Animal, we've been slumming and bumming, waiting for you to get drumming," which I really like. I wish that was, yeah, I wish that was in the movie.
That's such a good
Floyd
line.
I know, right? And then Janice says, "Wow, this is like so exciting. We'll communicate with aliens in the universal language of music." And Dr. Teeth says, "Yeah, as long as they parlez-vous la funky." Ha! Which is all pretty good Electric
all
Mayhem
pretty good.
dialogue.
Do we imagine Adam Hunt would have played Janice as well?
Why
Oh,
not? Why
yeah,
not?
sure. Yeah.
I think you guys probably have across this whole miniseries here, but you're thinking of different versions of what Muppets from Space would have been like if they had just done this, if they had just done that. There's a million different drafts, as you're noting.
Yeah.
But you have to wonder if, and I truly think this is maybe like just one difference that could have changed the whole thing. I think the movie as is could still work just if they have Electric Mayhem throughout it.
It would definitely
Electric
help.
Mayhem is there.
Yeah.
I think that would make a huge difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it would make a huge difference in other Muppet stuff in this period, in the 90s. So I think if they had not hesitated to recast some of these characters the way they did. But yeah, anyway. Yes, that's all I have from the drafts. I have a couple of quick listener comment signs on the beach I'll try to get through with quickly. We talked about how weird it is that Dr. Phil Van Neuter shouts A-E-I-O-U at the beginning of Tales from the Vet. Our friend and frequent podcast guest Shane Keating told us that the explanation for that was on Muppet Wiki all along. As per an episode of the Beretta Brothers video series, quote, his signature entrance phrase, A-E-I-O-U, was suggested by Bill Beretta, as Brian Henson couldn't think of a diabolical laugh to give the character. So there's that explanation. And then we talked about the soda Moxie during the scene when Bubba the Rat tells Rizzo that he has Moxie. Orion, over on the Discord, shared some thoughts on Moxie, the soda. I'm a Mainer and have never had Moxie. My experience with it has been mostly as a thing on t-shirts tourists buy. It's notorious for tasting awful. Huh. So, yeah, I mean, I believe it, cool. But I still want to try Moxie someday, and yeah, I'll get there.
As part of the Muppets from Space collection.
Right. Yeah, like Muppets from Space branded Moxie.
and Moon Rocks.
A picture of Bubba the Rat on the bottle.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying if you want the complete sort of Muppets from Space experience,
yeah, sure.
Get Moxie, get some Moon Rocks.
Yeah. And then finally, our friend Eric, also on the Discord, said a thought which occurred to him, quote, Ray Liotta and Kathy Griffin were both in this movie. Griffin filmed a scene for The Muppets 2011, which was cut, but if she hadn't, she would have been only the second actor to make a cameo appearance in more than one Muppet movie after Elliot Gould, who was in the Muppet movie and the Muppets Take Manhattan. But instead, Ray Liotta got that honor when he appeared in Muppets Most Wanted. Also, Zach Galifianakis, who was in both the Muppets 2011 and Muppets Most Wanted. So that's a nice little nerdy tidbit of trivia. So I like that.
Right. And of course, Eric is forgetting Jerry Nelson, who has lines as a human man in both Great Muppet Caper and Muppet Treasure Island.
Yeah.
Spoken dialogue out loud in both of those films.
True, but I mean, not a celebrity exactly.
He is
he's a celebrity to
don't
us.
go there. Don't go there.
He's a celebrity to us. That's what matters.
He's been slumming and bumming so that Animal can start drumming or whatever. And this is how you treat him.
Yeah. That's all.
Yeah. Okay, great. So, Max, we have a tradition here on the program where we've been asking all of our guests this season 2 questions. And the first one is, what is your history with the film Muppets from Space?
What is my history with the film Muppets from Space?
Max is holding a VHS tape, clamshell VHS, of the movie.
Well, this is actually the VHS tape that I am holding is very relevant because I would say this was like some of my first Muppet experiences whatsoever. I think, and probably in previous episodes on the show, I've kind of given a little bit of backstory when I've been on. But the whole journey of Muppets for me was when I was a kid, my mom's best friend, who I always looked to as kind of like an aunt figure, she loved the Muppets. She loved the Muppets so much. And when my mom was having me, she gave like a lot of her Muppet stuff to me to hope to pass on the torch of Muppets to the next generation in what I now look back on as like a dearth of Muppet content. There wasn't, hey, we got to teach these children because they're not being shown the Muppets as frequently as they used to. I was born in 99, the year of Muppets from Space. So
the same age as this movie.
I'm the same age as this movie. And so among them were VHS tapes. And I had like a Kermit the Frog, I had an Ernie, I had all these, Muppet related toys and ephemera. And then somewhere around, so we took a Disney World trip in like 2008-ish. No, 2006. And then we went on Muppet Vision 3D, and I was insanely horrified, and I was like I was like, what is this? I hate this. And I was like screaming, crying, that sort of thing. Looking back, it was probably the Sweetums of it all. Maybe it was genuinely just the explosion of the theater.
Yeah.
So I think that's a contributing factor. But somehow I just got this irrational sort of like, I don't know what this is, because like these were in our house, but I didn't make any like connection. And I probably didn't watch this like I watched like The Wiggles or whatever,
Right.
And
yeah, sure.
And so I was petrified, and I hated Muppets. And then we went back in 2008, and my parents were like, okay, you're not going to be afraid of the Muppets. Like, are you freaking kidding me? And so they forced me onto Muppet Vision. And that's when I had my moment of clarity, my catharsis. And it was like, whoa, this is the Muppets? And that's when I immediately became a Muppet fan. It was from then on. And like, I came back from the trip, basically like, that's when I started doing the scouring of Muppet Wiki and like trying to learn and watch everything I possibly could of Muppet. And I think the first places I turned to were these VHS copies that I had. I had this, and I had Muppet Movie, Great Muppet Caper, and I think Manhattan. I can't be sure about Manhattan, but I know I had those 3 for sure. Muppet Movie, Great Muppet Caper, and this one. And this one was the one I think I wore out the most. Like, I loved this movie the most as a child, because also looking back, this is a movie that is made for children. This is like really the most geared to, even though it has all these dirty jokes, it to me always felt a little bit, because of like, it was like dirty jokes, but in like the whole vibe of it was childish, versus like so many Muppet content were childlike. This was childish. And
sure. Yeah.
And And so I watched this all the time. I think I knew all the beats to it. And so this is like where I leapt to. And so I would say now, with kind of the hindsight of like then having researched everything Muppet from what could be gathered at that time, like the fact that I think I had become a Muppet fan like just before they released season 3 on DVD. Like it was that realm of time. And so I didn't have access to like a lot of different stuff. You know, that this was back in the days of like multi Muppets on YouTube, if you know that channel that would post full video.
Yeah, multi Muppets with a Z.
Yes, it was amazing. So I would just watch any Muppet Show episodes that I possibly could. And with that hindsight, I realized that this was not perfect Muppets. I realized that this is not the peak of Muppets, and this was not, even in the 90s, the best that they could do. That being said, I think for all of that, it holds a special place in my heart. And then as growing up to be like a movie fan and also loving 90s comedies for what they are, I've fallen back in love with this movie for like entirely different reasons. It's the sort of thing where my take on Muppets from Space by and large is that this is a very bad Muppet movie, but it's such a fun movie. And it's so, because I put this in the same category as movies that I love, like Good Burger, Monkey Bone.
Okay.
You brought up Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, movies like that. It kind of strikes a chord with over the top, kind of relying on 70s aesthetics, but like being, you know, hip to 90s technology in a certain fashion, the 90s visual aesthetic, so to speak. And it all coalesced into something that, like, you watch these movies and people would characterize them as like fever dreams today. And like, you don't see movies made even kind of like this anymore. Even the ones that try to be weird can't really manage the weird like those. And meanwhile, and so Muppets from Space kind of feels like the one time in all of the 90s that they grabbed onto that aesthetic, and they like, and so I look at it now and it's like, this is poor for Muppet standards, but it's also like, I'm glad that there's a Muppet movie that's like that I can have as part of that collection of weird aesthetic, because it's just weird to see time go by. And like, you look at Muppets Take Manhattan, as we've talked about, Muppets Take Manhattan feels like the quintessence of Muppets meets 80s. It's like the full, so like that's Muppets in 80s. Muppet movie is Muppets 70s. I would hate that there was not a Muppets 90s project, like something that was so holistically 90s, and that was maybe the more important part. And so I think that's what I love about Muppets from Space, and I think that's always going to be my take. No matter how many times I watch this and kind of shrug in moments, I'm always going to be charmed by it. So the Muppets from Space is one of my, holds a fondness, and I'll always love it. I don't know.
Oh, awesome. Great. And then the second question is, because this is a science fiction movie, what is your favorite science fiction movie or TV show or other property?
Science fiction is a great genre, and I love it intensely. And Anthony, I think you already know my answer. Do you want to guess what my answer is?
Off the top of my head, I don't know that I have a. It's a movie?
No, it's a show. It's a show.
It's a show.
It's a show you like.
I mean, is it Doctor Who?
It's Doctor Who. Yes. Like, obviously, I can also say I'm always going to be that guy who loves Star Wars. I'm always going to be that guy who loves, like, the tentpole science fiction franchises do mean a lot to me. But if I had to pick like a favorite science fiction property in any regard, I think it always will kind of come back to Doctor Who, because
remind me, you're a fan of like all, right? You're a classic series fan too, and a newer series.
I started new series, and then I think it was in like post Capaldi when I was kind of just getting off the train a little bit. Like I got off the train and look, I've kind of recanted a lot of my opinions about Jodie Whittaker's era. I've recanted a lot of that. I think there's a lot of charm to it that I didn't see at the moment. But it's the whole thing where there was like a dark time for me of just like, Doctor Who. It's something that it was a flash in the pan for me. and then I don't know what it was, maybe just the hype of the 60th anniversary, but not like 60th anniversary dependent, where it was like those years ahead in the last years of Jodie that I was kind of like, Doctor Who, let me revisit some Doctor Who. And I watched some new Who, and then I was like, I forgot. And then I basically dove back in big time to the point where I then was like, I gotta look at this. And so I then got into Classic Who, and now I think I'm fully like all in on Doctor Who in all of its forms, to the point where I've even listened to some Big Finish.
Yes, which ones?
Not a lot. I've just listened.
Which ones though?
I've heard a few 10th Doctor adventures, and then I dove into some 8th Doctor adventures. I probably couldn't name to you the specific episodes.
Sure. But did you hear? So I'll ask you this: did you hear Chimes of Midnight, the Christmas one? Christmas just wouldn't be Christmas without my plum pudding. With the 8th Doctor.
I feel like that's one I came across, but I haven't.
It's pretty early.
It's ringing a bell.
That's my favorite one anyway. We listen to it every single Christmas, like my children included. They hear it in the car every single December because we listen.
I'm writing that down.
It's the old, and it's early, so it's like one of these that's like on Spotify, or you can check it out on Hoopla, or whatever. Like it's kind of everywhere.
Because I was just like audibling things here and there, and so
awesome.
I was just grabbing what I could, and so now I'm like full in, and so now
that's great.
I love Doctor Who. That's like my favorite thing, and I think also because I was talking about this with someone, and I think to go back to why I love like Muppets from Space is sort of tangentially sci-fi. It's sci-fi in name only. The thing I love about Doctor Who is that it is firmly sci-fi, but it's everything else in sort of like in tangent. Where it's like, if you love Doctor Who, it will dive into all of your other interests in some way or form. Like you can seek out, it's like they've kind of covered so many different vibes that you're never going to kind of get tired. And like that that it's ultimately sci-fi, but it's like it broadens itself out to be much more interesting, much more cultural than that. It has so much promise and endurance that I think that's maybe what keeps me around Doctor Who, rather, especially now in a time where I think if I didn't get into Classic Who, I would be kind of at a loss in what is now like another dearth. What seems like it might be another wilderness season, maybe.
We kind of don't know what's going to happen after this Christmas. We have no idea, in fact. As of right now, we know there's a Christmas special this year, and after that, we know nothing.
We don't even know it. That's all we know. That's all we know.
Yeah.
So I feel like just, well, I mean, 8th Doctor 4K, Doctor Who movie.
Yeah, right. The Doctor, which
and
you've seen the movie?
That's like one of my favorite things ever. I'm not even joking. That's like one of my favorite things ever. Like I'm getting that 4K for my birthday. Like I'm UK shipping that in. It's going to be great.
Oh.
And then the 2 new episodes that got found. It's like, and so now I just
Dalek's master plan.
Like, that's how I know I'm in. Where it's like this stuff is like, okay, it's the little stuff that matters more than just like the fact that there's like these are the tentpole episodes, and this is what the series is right now. It's like the series, much like the series, like in its text, is that like Doctor Who is like always happening. There's always something that you can discover about it. And so even if there's not some current existing thing on TV right now, or the promise of it even, that that it's kind of always going to be there for you and evolving in some way to you personally or whatever. And I think that's what I love about it, because I don't know, there are other properties that like are long running in similar fashion, but I don't think they meet you at your level. You have to kind of come to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I mean that symbolically, where it's like with Doctor Who, you really do need to seek those things out physically speaking. But like when you go to Star Wars or Star Trek, as much as I love those franchises, it will always just be Star Wars. It was always just be Star Trek, kind of.
Yeah.
You know, Doctor Who is
right. It's not doing Inception meets Alien at the North Pole featuring Nick Frost as Santa Claus.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Or whatever. Yeah.
I don't know.
So we've been talking about this too long, but I do want to say, as long as you brought it up, the 2 new episodes of Dalek's Master Plan, the Hartnell era is one of the ones that Roz and I have watched a lot of together. Like, as far as classic Who goes, I've seen or heard, seen all the existing episodes, heard reconstructions of the ones, heard the audio for all the episodes that don't exist, whatever. But when it comes to watching it with Roz, it's mostly been Tom Baker or William Hartnell. So the idea that there are going to be 2 more William Hartnell episodes to see is making me emotional in a way that I did not expect.
Sure. It's really exciting. It's really exciting.
Yeah, it is. And Dalek Master Plan is, this is like 2 more episodes. So we now have 5 of a 12-part story. Like, it's not even completing a story, but it means we'll have the first 3 now. Like, this is going to be episodes 1, 2, and 3, because we already had 2. We had 2, 5, and 10, I think.
And in this one, he's mogging. He's like, he's stunting on him with his cheekbones and that gif that's been going around. That's what we're talking about. This is
can't wait.
Doctor Who will forever be relevant. I'm so excited.
Yeah. But anyways, we really should finish this podcast because we could keep going all night. But that brings us down to the end. Listeners, thank you for tuning in. You can read toughpigs.com on the internet. We're on Facebook, Blue Sky, all over the place. You can check out our other podcast feeds. We have Fraggle Rock Classic and 70 Years, 70 Muppets, More Muppets Please running right now. So check those out. You can become a patron of ours on Patreon. We may or may not have that movie game bonus episode up with Ryan, myself, and Joe Hennis. That might be up by the time this comes out. We'll see. Become a patron of ours to hear that. It was a really fun discussion. And you can email us at movingrightalong@toughpigs.com. You can follow Ryan on Blue Sky at me, Ryan Rowan, on Letterboxd at Movies Are Neat. You can follow me on Blue Sky at Durwood Clapper and on Letterboxd at Zeppo Marxist. Max, where, if anywhere, can our listeners find you or your work online?
So many places. It's terrible how many places I am on the internet. Me personally, I'm still on that gosh forsaken site X.
Oh no.
I am on Instagram and I am on TikTok, and they're all so TikTok is the Muppet Kid, and Twitter and Instagram are BeakerBoy12. You can see that the trend of Muppets have not left me. The Muppet Kid is also me on Letterboxd. I am a fairly consistent reviewer of things. Recently, I watched Lighthouse Island. If you guys are interested in that, I wrote a review about how Jerry Nelson should have been a character actor separate of the Jim Henson Company.
Yeah, he could have.
He should have just been his own guy. Like, he absolutely could. Truro Daydreams is an amazing thing that should have happened like 20 years earlier. Like, no question.
Yeah, sure.
And then I also run a classic movie themed TikTok and Instagram page, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, I suppose, mostly YouTube and TikTok, called Turner Classic Companion.
And it's great, and I love it.
It's just me talking about movies that are on the TCM schedule, shilling for broadcast television, despite a dwindling amount of people over there. But it's just an excuse to talk about all different types of movies that are kind of piquing my ear, and I'm learning as much as I'm disseminating information as well. So you can go watch me talk about that. That's the one that I'm really pushing right now, that I'd like to make it a side hustle. So everyone listening to this, please go and follow that. It's also just a lot of me talking like this, rambling about stupid crap in the middle of talking about movies. It'll be a fact, and then a joke, and then a fact, and then like some random aside about something that doesn't matter. So you'll get what you pay for.
It's true. All right.
That's Turner Classic Companion.
Yeah, that's great. All right. Thank you so much. And thank you as well for being here. And thank you to Morgan Davy for designing our logo, and Jordan Brandon for writing our theme music. And thank you to you listeners for giving us a positive review and telling everyone you see at the beach to listen to Moving Right Along. We'll be back next week with another episode. Goodbye.
Gonzo, 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 Gonzo.
I'm going to go buy a Gonzo t-shirt for just $10.
Moon rocks.
That's the old spacecraft boy.
There's the old spacecraft boy.